Okay, welcome in. I'm now going to be reviewing Thursday's action, aka Halloween night of the National Hockey League. There were a total of 7 games on tap, so therefore 14 teams were duking it out for 2 points, respectively. We're going to start in the state's national capital as the Washington Capitals played host to the Montreal Canadiens. There was no scoring in the first, so we have to jump ahead to the second period. Tom Wilson would kick things off for the Capitals, getting his 6th goal of the year, a power play marker from Ovechkin and John Carlson, 3:21 of the second period. Cole Caulfield would score, getting his 10th of the year, assisted by Suzuki, a power play goal, 9:52 of the second frame. Less than a minute after that, Brendan Gallagher would give the Habs a 2-1 lead, getting his 4th goal of the year from Lane Hudson and Christian Dvorak, 10:31 of the second period. Brandon Duhaime would get his first goal as a member of the Capitals from Radish and Van Riemsdyk, 11:45 of the second period, tying the game up at 2. Jacob Verano would score less than a minute after that, giving the Capitals a 3-2 lead, unassisted, 12:09 of the second frame. Nick Suzuki would tie the game up with exactly 2 minutes to go, getting his 4th goal of the season from Savard and Lane Hudson. So heading into the third period, we were all tied up at 3. In the third period, Connor McMichael would break the tie, getting his 5th goal of the year from Van Riemsdyk and Tom Wilson, 4:21 of the third frame. Less than a minute after that, or I guess 36 seconds to be exact, after that, Protas would give the Capitals a 5-3 lead, getting his 3rd goal of the year from Ovechkin and Strome. Speaking of Ovechkin, he'd get on the goal score sheet himself, getting his 5th goal of the season from Protas and Strome, 12:27 of the third period. So the Capitals would double up on the Canadiens, 6-3. The Toronto Maple Leafs played host to the Seattle Kraken. In the first period, Matthew Knies would get the lone goal in the period, getting his 6th goal of the year from Marner and Austin Matthews with just 5 seconds remaining on the clock. So the game was that close to being tied heading into the second period. In the second period, William Nylander would get his 7th goal of the year from Riley and Tavares, a minute 39 into the frame. And he would score again, getting his 2nd goal of the game, his 8th of the year from Tavares and Max Pacioretty, 9:24 of the second period. So heading into the third period, Toronto had a 3-0 lead. Eli Tolvanen would finally get the Kraken on the board late in the third period, getting his 4th of the season from Evans and Beniers, 16:32 of the frame. And they were down by 2 goals. They tried to pull their goalie. Unfortunately, it did not pan out. And Austin Matthews would get the empty net marker, his 5th of the season, 18:17 of the third period. So the Maple Leafs would win this game by a final score of 4-1. Alrighty, now we're off to Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, as the Flyers played host to the St. Louis Blues. Just the 1 goal to report in the first. Garnet Hathaway would get his 1st goal of the year from Paling and Sealer, 11:12 of the first period. There was no scoring in the second. We have to jump all the way ahead to the third, where Nathan Walker would get his 1st goal of the year from Broberg and Baldock, 9:58 of the third period, tying the game up at 1. With 3 minutes to go, Bobby Brink would break the tie, getting his 2nd goal of the season from Farabee and Scott Lawton. That would turn out to be the game-winning goal and the final score from this game. So the Flyers would defeat the Blues by a score 2-1. Alrighty, the Pittsburgh Penguins played host to the Anaheim Ducks. Just the 1 goal to report in the first. Alex Killorn would get his 2nd goal of the year from Zegras and Gauthier, 15:50 of the first frame. There was no scoring in the second. We have to jump ahead to the third period, where Sidney Crosby would tie the game up, getting his 2nd goal of the year from Grizzlejic and Erik Karlsson, just a minute 47 in the third period. There'd be no scoring for the rest of that period. We would need overtime to settle this one, and big surprise, the captain would come up clutch, getting the game-winning goal, his 2nd of the game, his 3rd of the year, from assisted by Cody Glass, just over 2 minutes into the overtime frame. So the Penguins would win 2-1 in overtime. The Carolina Hurricanes played host to the Boston Bruins. In the first period, Jack Roslovic would get his 5th goal of the year from Aho and Sveshnikov, 6:28 of the first. Brad Marchand would tie the game up, getting a power play goal, his second of the year from Pasternak and Lindholm, 13-11 of the first period. Svechnikov would break the tie, getting his third goal of the year, a power play marker from Shane Gothenberg and Nietzsche, 17-14 of that same frame. And then Jackson Blake would score about 38 seconds after that, getting his third goal of the year from Orlov and William Carrier. Martin Nietzsche scored just 8 plus 6, 14 seconds after that, getting his fifth goal of the year, a power play marker from Jarvis and Shane Gothenberg. So the Carolina Hurricanes scored 3 goals in about 48 seconds, which is unreal. 58 seconds, I should say. I apologize. So the Hurricanes had a 4-1 lead heading into the second period. Hampus Lindholm would cut the deficit in half, getting his second goal of the year from Kaselich and Pasternak, 3:38 of the second frame. Svechnikov would score yet again, getting another power play goal from Jarvis and Nietzsche, making it 5-2 at that point, 8:51 of the second frame. Jack Roslovic would get his second goal of the game, his sixth of the year, assisted by Jordan Martinook, 9:32 of the second period. So heading into the third, the Hurricanes had a comfortable 6-2 lead. Sean Walker would get his first goal as a member of the Hurricanes, unassisted, 7:36 of the third, given they made 7-2 lead at that point. And Jesperi Kotkaniemi would get his first goal of the season from Nietzsche, 12:13 of that same frame. So a monster game from Nietzsche, to say the least, led the Hurricanes to a 8-2 win. Alrighty, the Nashville Predators played host to the Edmonton Oilers. This was the first of possibly a few games that the Oilers were going to be without their captain Connor McDavid after he suffered the injury against the Blue Jackets in their previous game. In the first period, Victor Arvidsson would finally get his first goal as a member of the Oilers, assisted by Draisaitl and Pod Colson, if I said that name correctly, 37 seconds into the first frame. Philip Forsberg would get his fifth goal of the year, unassisted, on the power play, 5:05, tying the game up at 1. Corey Perry would break the tie, getting his second goal of the season from Drake Caggiula and Phillip just over 9 minutes into the first period. So the Oilers had a 2-1 lead heading into the second period. Just the one goal to report in the second, that'd be Leon Draisaitl, getting his seventh goal of the season, unassisted, just over 9 minutes into the second frame. So Edmonton had a 3-1 lead heading into the third period. Draisaitl would get his second goal of the game, his eighth of the year from Ekholm and Bouchard, a minute 48 of the third period, giving the Oilers a 4-1 lead. And Zach Hyman, who would have guessed it would take him this long to get his first goal of the season, assisted by Nurse and Jeff Skinner, 12:46 of the third period. I'd be like, at this rate, I don't think he's going to get to 50 plus goals like he did last year, but he's obviously a very big contributor when he does score. So Edmonton would get the win. 5-1 would be the final from Nashville. And the last game has the San Jose Sharks playing host to the Chicago Blackhawks. Will Smith would get his first National Hockey League goal, assisted by Kunin and Cody Ceci, 6:52 of the first period, giving the Sharks a 1-0 lead. Ryan Donato would tie the game up just over 30 seconds after that, getting his sixth of the year from Mikheyev and Murphy, 7:29 of the first frame. Tyler Bertuzzi would give the Blackhawks a 2-1 lead just 50 seconds after that, getting his third goal of the year from Murphy and Taylor Hall. So heading into the second period, the Blackhawks had a 2-1 lead. Alexander Wenberg would tie the game up at 2, getting his second goal of the year, assisted by Zetterlund and Wallman, a minute and a half into the middle frame. Will Smith would get his second goal of the game, unassisted on the power play, 10:42 of the second frame, putting the Sharks back on top with a 3-2 lead. And that's where we would stand at the end of regulation. There was no scoring in the third period, so the Sharks would win 3-2. They're definitely having a better start to this season, even though they started off 0-7-2 or something like that, than they did last year. Okay, that's going to take care of Thursday's recap from the National Hockey League season, aka Halloween. As always, if you're new to this channel and you like this type of content, feel free to hit the sub button. I'd be very grateful and very appreciative. Until next time, and as always, take care.